I quit. Since the start of 2021, millions of people have said these two daring words and left their jobs. This mind-boggling phenomenon is being called the Great Resignation, and today's video is all about dissecting it and learning valuable lessons from it. I'm Samya, and you've tuned in to Unwind the Grind YouTube channel, which is the place to transition from a dead-end stuck job into a purposeful, thriving career. Let's start with understanding what the Great Resignation really is. According to the US Department of Labor, around 4 million people quit their jobs just in June this year. This trend is being witnessed all around the globe. But you might be thinking, wasn't there record unemployment last year after COVID hit? So many people lost their jobs, it was a major crisis. So how did the world go from that to a surplus of nearly 1 million jobs in the US alone in the span of a year? I think this is even more baffling for millennials because our entire lives we've constantly been told how hard it is to get a job and how we must try our best to save it, even if it results in perpetual suffering. What is it then that is forcing millions to call it quits and change the course of their careers as the world is still recovering from the repercussions of the pandemic? Now, those of you that have been following the Great Resignation on news may have heard one obvious reason being cited a lot. That is, too many employers are now demanding their employees to come physically to the office, and not everybody is thrilled about that, for several reasons. One, working from home has drastically cut down fuel costs and transportation time for people without affecting their work quality much. It has allowed people to be closer to their families and be more involved in their lives than they could ever possibly be stuck in a 9-to-5 grind. Work from home has allowed many people to escape toxic co-workers, corporate politics, and maintain healthier boundaries. A lot of people were able to take on side hustles because of the increased flexibility, which they aren't quite keen on quitting. In some parts of the world, there is still fear of contracting COVID-19 as SOPs become more lenient. This affects people with medical conditions even more. Of course, these are all important factors, and as a BCG survey revealed, around 89% of people prefer working from home over going back to the office. But I think it only barely scratches the surface and mostly applies to white-collar jobs that had good, flexible work-from-home policies to begin with. For me, the deeper underlying reasons are, number one, people are just done tolerating BS. Period. They've had it. They're done tolerating BS from inconsiderate management, done with BS company policies, and done with sticking to a BS job when life's so short and unpredictable. The pandemic has ripped all the wounds open. It has forced people to take stock of their lives and gave them the opportunity to reimagine it. It has somehow made people brave. Amidst massive loss and suffering at every level, people have reached a point where they don't care anymore. They've seen the worst and they've got nothing to lose. Most industries have been short-staffed and quite overworked. It has left many employees with the realization that they are not worth much for their employers, especially when it comes to cutting costs. And they have simply had enough of this attitude. Healthcare workers have been working round the clock. Hotel staff has been made to compromise their safety against COVID-19 to give guests a sense of normalcy. Literally every industry you look at, management is concerned with keeping the business afloat in these trying times at the expense of their people. It's taken a toll on people's physical and mental well-being, and they're forced to re-examine their lives at a broader level. I hear this every single day from clients wanting to make big career changes because YOLO, you only live once. What they have is not good enough, and they can't sit around waiting for things to change when they've already been sitting around quite a bit thanks to lockdowns. The second reason is burnout and increased job dissatisfaction. Burnout is one of the major reasons why people are being pushed to quit their jobs. When you look at the amount of work people are expected to put in without any regard to a life they might have outside of work, it makes sense. Now, this isn't a really new issue, but the pandemic has taken it to new highs. Teachers, for instance, have had it particularly rough. First, they had to adapt to a completely new virtual teaching setup and deal with the lapses in the policies of the education system. And now that things are slowly starting to come back to normal, most schools are expecting teachers to teach hybrid. That is partially in the school, in person, and partially virtual. Because some children cannot or don't want to come back physically due to fears of the pandemic. Of course, teachers mostly don't get this choice and therefore have to put in twice the hard work. The same theme is prevalent across different sectors and industries in various shapes or forms. Work, rework, changes, budget, no budget, rules, more rules, new rules, you name it. When the existing job dissatisfaction was supplemented with extreme burnout during the pandemic and unhelpful or even straight up inconsiderate management, it just got too much to bear for many people. In most cases, pandemic-related issues are just common trigger points. The underlying reason is the gradually brewing dissatisfaction people have been feeling for quite a long time. The third and final reason is reflection time. As I mentioned earlier, the pandemic really helped put life in perspective for so many of us. I'm sure you'll agree that it has really helped us reflect on what our priorities are in life. Many people, for example, have realized they need to prioritize their families more, and therefore they simply won't return to jobs that take away that flexibility provided from a work from home or work from anywhere setup. Others have had the rude awakening that life's too short to spend doing something you hate just to keep up in the race for money, or spend doing nothing of value and never have the satisfaction of knowing you've made an impact through your work. The pandemic slowed down the world, letting people introspect without too much distraction. And with no travel and minimal festivities and commute, people managed to save up more than usual, allowing them to actually undertake these career changes. I want you to pause now and take a moment to reflect on some of these critical questions if you haven't already. Do you feel engaged and empowered at work? Do you derive a sense of purpose from the work you do? How meaningful and impactful is your day-to-day work? Does it give you a sense of personal satisfaction? Are you optimistic about your future and your chosen career path? Do you have a sense of belonging to the company and its vision? Is your performance and potential maximized and leveraged fully? And finally, do you have the opportunity to form meaningful, constructive connections in your workplace? How does your self-audit look like? These are big questions and it can take a while to find wholesome answers. The harder you try to look away from reality, the stronger it boomerangs back. If your self-audit is taking you to the path of a switch or a complete career overhaul, the first step to discover your purpose is to get clear on what matters to you. Check out my Find Your Why video, which talks about career criteria, the factors important to you in making your next career move. Comment below and let me know your thoughts on the Great Resignation. How do things look in your country, your market?